Blog Talk Radio.
Are you ready for this? Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's Wednesday, March the 12th, 2014, and welcome to the BCS Experience, History, Arts, Culture, and Politics in Review and Discussion. I'm Byron C. Saunders, your host with the most. The BCS Experience takes a look at our rich history, African American history. We're going to share with you some known and unknown historical facts and information from the past and connect the dots on how they have impacted on our present day events and how they will definitely shape our future as African Americans in this country and around the world. The BCS Experience, History, Arts, Culture, Politics in Review and Discussion. This is Internet Radio and will be aired live every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. from the studios of the BW Moving Images on the GoPro Radio Network. I'm really excited about this opportunity to talk to you all across the country and around the globe. I want you to tune in every week on your computer or your phone. I want you to become a loyal listener, and I personally invite you to lend your voice to this radio talk show to express your opinions on my weekly topics. This is Social Network Radio at its finest. Now here's the number for you to call to be a part of the discussion. Call 347-884-9839. Once again, that number to call is 347-884-9839. Okay, this week's topic. Oh my goodness. We're continuing the celebration of Women's History Month with a look at the accomplishment of African American women whom you may or may not know. Together, let's discover who they are and salute them for their courage, their intelligence, their talent, beauty, and their spirituality. Who are your sheroes? I wonder who. Okay. Well, anyway, before we get to the main course, I do have a starting point with our African American women of honor this evening. The history. The date. It's Sunday. It's March the 10th. It's 1850. And on this date marks the birth of Hallie Quinn Brown in 1850. She was a black educator and elocutionist who pioneered in the movement for black women's clubs in the United States. The daughter of a former slave born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Brown received a B.S. from Wilberforce University in Ohio in 1873. She then taught on plantations and in the public schools of Mississippi and South Carolina. After graduating from the Chautauqua Lecture School and teaching in Dayton and in Alabama, Brown returned to Wilberforce to teach elocution. Now, at the same time, she began her extensive travels as an elocutionist and lecturer, speaking in Europe as well as in the United States on topics of the life of blacks in America. Brown helped to form the first British Chautauqua, and in England she lectured on behalf of the British Women's Temperance Association. In the United States, she helped to found the earliest women's clubs for blacks, and from 1905 to 1912 served as president of the Ohio State Federation of Colored Women's Clubs. She also helped to found the Colored Women's League of Washington, D.C., a predecessor of the National Association of Colored Women. Hallie Q. Brown died September the 16th, 1949, in Wilberforce, Ohio. I bet you didn't know about her. Oh my goodness. You see, all the way back, born in 1850. Hallie Q. Brown, a very important woman. We're going to keep moving forward because, see, I want to hear from you. I want to know who your sheroes are. Let's connect the dots and make sense out of it all. You can call me, 347-884-9839. That number again to call is 347-884-9839. We're talking about and saluting women. This is Women's History Month, and I'm saluting African American women and women of color who gave their lives, who are the sheroes that we stand on. They gave their lives for our freedom, for their family, for their love of country, for their love of God. Oh my goodness, these are queens we're talking about. All right, let's go, keep moving forward. See, tonight I have my very special guest, African American women who have achieved much in spite of overwhelming odds against them. This is tonight's story on the BCS Experience. You know, it's, as I say, it's the Underground Railroad. That's what my show is all about. We're making stops in your neighborhood. All aboard to freedom and to freedom land. All right, here we go. We're going to keep moving. The date. Oh my goodness, you're going to love this one. It's March the 9th. It's Thursday. It's 1865. And on this date in 1865, Margaret Murray was born. She was an African American educator and club woman. The child of a black woman and white father, she was from Macon, Mississippi. And after the death of her father at the age of 7, Quakers took her in, and it was there that she received much guidance and education. She entered Fisk University in 1881 to become a teacher. She married to Booker T. Washington in 1893. This was his third wife. She stood steadfastly beside him in making his dream of a great school, Tuskegee Institute, come true. Murray joined the staff there and became the dean of the women's department after 1 year. Murray Washington was the director of the Girls' Institute of Tuskegee, which provided courses in laundering, cooking, dressmaking, sewing, millinery, and mattress making, skills which students were to use in maintaining healthy, efficient, and gracious homes. Called one of the greatest women of our century, Margaret Murray Washington spoke to national audiences as first president of the National Federation of Colored Women's Clubs. But her greatest service came as a graduate of Fisk University and teacher at Tuskegee, where she founded country schools, taught women how to live and attend to their homes, worked for the improvement of prisons, started the Mount Megas School for Boys and an industrial school for girls, and constantly worked for the betterment of the poor and neglected. In 1896, she became vice president of the National Federation of Afro-American Women. Soon after, she became president of the Alabama Association of Women's Clubs until her death in 1925. Murray Washington was a woman of great compassion, intelligence, and independence of judgment. She became one of the greatest forces of Tuskegee and among black leaders and thinkers in the Americas. My goodness. You see, behind every great man, you see Booker T. Washington had a great woman. That's right, Margaret Murray Washington. That was his third wife. All right, moving along. Bet you didn't know some of these women. This is what you're missing in your schools. They need to be teaching you about these very important women.
I think since John Cole.
The date. Here's the next one. It's Sunday. It's March the 10th. It's 1867. Lillian Wald was born on this date in 1867. She was a Jewish American civil rights activist, health worker, and educator from Cincinnati, Ohio. Wald became a nurse, and inspired by the work of Jane Addams and Ellen Starr at Hull House in Chicago, she joined Mary Brewster to establish none other than the Henry Street Settlement in New York City in 1893. The settlement expanded its range of services to meet the needs of the local community. This included nursing, the establishment of clubs, a savings bank, a library, and vocational training for young people. By 1903, Wald was organizing 18 district nursing service centers that overall treated 4,500 patients in New York. Over the next few years, Wald promoted the idea of building public playgrounds and cultural institutions in working-class areas. Wald was an active campaigner for civil rights and insisted that all Henry Street classes were racially integrated. In 1909, she helped to establish the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, also known as NAACP. She also took part in the protests against the film Birth of a Nation that celebrated the Ku Klux Klan and its belief in white supremacy. Committed to anti-violence, Wald and others led a parade of 1,200 women down Fifth Avenue in New York on August the 29th, 1914, to protest against the First World War. Wald was also a member of the Women's Peace Party, and after the war helped establish the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, and campaigned for socialist candidates and was closely associated with left-wing radicals such as Emma Goldman. As a result, she became a target of the Red Scare campaign that took place in 1919. Wald wrote several books about her activities, including House on Henry Street, 1915, and Windows on Henry Street, 1934. Lillian Wald died in Westport, Connecticut on September the 1st, 1940. All right, not to be outdone. Oh, my goodness. That's right. I want to hear from you. Who's your shero? Call me, 347-884-9839. I want to know who your shero was. I bet you didn't know about some of these very important women. All right, we're moving right along. I get one more in before we get to the next break. It's Friday. It's February 27th, and the year is 1880. And on this date, we recall the birth in 1880 of Angelina Weld Grimke. She was an African-American poet, playwright, and author of first staged play by an African-American. Now, we talked about Angelina a couple weeks ago when I had my good friend Leslie Joy Allen on the show talking about Atlanta. Well, Angelina Weld Grimke was the daughter of Archibald and Sarah Grimke in Boston. Her father, the son of a slave, was a lawyer and the executive director of the NAACP. Grimke's mother was white. Grimke attended several elite private schools and graduated from the Boston Normal School of Gymnastics in 1902. Most of her writing was done over the next 25 years, which she spent teaching English in Washington, D.C. The NAACP produced her best-known work, the play Rachel, in March of 1916. Rachel was the first play by an African American that was meant to be staged, in contrast to earlier costume dramas which were simply read aloud. Both Rachel and Grimke's second play dealt with themes of racial injustice. Grimke's poetry was included in such work as Alain Locke's The New Negro and Countee Cullen's Caroline Dusk. Her poetry dealt with more conventional romantic themes, often marked with frequent images of frustration and isolation. Recent scholarship has revealed Grimke's unpublished lesbian poems and letters. She did not feel free to live openly as a gay woman during her lifetime. Grimke spent the end of her life living alone in New York City. My, what an important person, a writer of distinction. All right, well, I want to hear from you, so let's connect the dots and make sense out of it all. Give me a call. I want to know who your shero is. Let's celebrate women in the right way. Let's talk. Let's salute them all during Black History Month as well as Women's History Month. All right, give me a call, 347-884-9839. It's time to take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the BCS Experience on the Go Pro Radio Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
GoPro Radio, the fastest growing network in the galaxy, is leaner and meaner with a new attitude, new technology, and a brand new lineup. Tune in and get wired every Wednesday, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern with the BCS Experience featuring Byron C. Saunders, formerly of New York City's WBAI. Then at 6 p.m., it's the Black Agenda TV Express featuring sought-out political commentator Glenn Ford, formerly of America's Black Forum. Then at 8 p.m., it's time for Kay Thompson Live with the legendary radio host Kay Thompson of Inner City Broadcasting's WLIB and her son, renowned actor Eric Payne, who starred in such films as Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, Drop Squad, and many more. Then, at 9 p.m., it's Food Rap, featuring Nina Markel, a.k.a. the unofficial mayor of Jersey City, and former Viacom marketing guru Shauna Glover. Last but not least, at 10 p.m. Eastern, it's The Sexy Party Show, with the bad boy of dating Mr. Locario of I Love New York fame and his partner in crime, Miles Cunningham. So get wired every Wednesday from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern only on the GoPro Radio Network, www.goproradio.com. Listen to the voices in your head.
You want to know the truth, folks? Do you really want to know the truth? Well, perhaps you can't handle the truth. But if you can listen to GoPro Radio. Tune in at www.goproradio.com. Now, have I made myself clear?
GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head. I know I do.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
All right, we're back on the BCS Experience. I've got my crew out back there just making all kinds of good stuff happen for me. Welcome to the crew, Glenn. We got you back there, brother man. All right, now we're back. We just got through talking about Angelina Weld Grimke. We're on the BCS Experience. I'm Byron C. Saunders, your host with the most. Now let's move forward because we're going to talk about these most important women. If you want to call me up, I want to know who your sheroes are. Call me at 347-884-9839. All right, the date. It's March the 9th. The year is 1892. And on this date, in 1892, 3 black businessmen were lynched in Memphis, Tennessee. Following this incident, black journalist Ida B. Wells wrote an article condemning the lynchers. As a result, a white mob destroyed her office and printing press. The mob had intended to lynch her, but she was visiting Philadelphia at the time. Call it that a close call, Ida B. Wells. But she stood up. She stood up. That's right. This black woman stood up because what was done to those businessmen, they lynched them during a time back in the 1800s, 1900s. It is said that 3,000 black people were lynched all across America per month. That's a damning situation in this country. Anyway, we give salute to Sister Ida B. Wells for standing up for justice, peace, the American way. All right, let's keep moving forward. The date. It's Thursday. It's February the 27th. The year is 1890, and on this date in 1890 marks the birthday of Mabel Keaton Stoppers. She was an African-American leader in breaking down racial barriers in American nursing. You see, Mabel Stoppers was born in Barbados, West Indies, and at 13 she immigrated with her parents to Washington, D.C. In 1917 she graduated from Freedman's Hospital School of Nursing and was employed at the Harlem Tuberculosis Committee. Early in her career, Stoppers was confronted with the prejudice and dehumanizing discrimination affecting the lives of black Americans in nursing. All training schools and medical associations were segregated at the time. In 1934, Stoppers was the executive secretary of the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses, a position she held for 12 years. She increased membership, established a citizen advisory committee, built coalitions with other medical groups, and effectively dismantled many racial barriers. Honored with numerous awards, Mabel Keaton Stoppers' efforts helped black nurses gain acceptance into the educational, institutional, and organizational system of American nursing. We salute you, Mabel Keaton Stoppers. See, I'm giving you not just figures who were lawyers, doctors, nurses. I'm giving it to you singers, dancers. I've got a cornucopia of women I bet you never even heard of, but we stand on shoulders of women. You women of color stand on brilliant women, queens and princesses. Okay? There's no need to be wearing your skirt up above your hind parts when you got women of color who paved the way for greatness. Stand in the shadow of greatness, my sisters. Walk in these paths. All right, keep moving forward. The date, it's Saturday. It's February the 27th. The year is 1897. And on this date, yes, right, on this date, the famous Marian Anderson was born in 1897. She was an African-American singer, one of the finest contraltos of her time. Born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, of poor black parents, Anderson received her earliest musical training in the choir of the Union Baptist Church, which she joined when she was 6, already having displayed a remarkable voice. Her church raised enough money for her to take private voice lessons, and in 1925, her teacher entered her in a contest for an appearance of Louis Sun Stadium in New York City with the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. She was placed first among 300 competitors. She had already made several concert tours, and despite struggles against poverty and racial discrimination, was beginning to make a name for herself. Real success came after several trips to Europe between 1925 and 1935, during which time she expanded and deepened her experience as a performer. After her return to New York City in 1935, she achieved even greater success. In 1939, the Daughters of the American Revolution, that's the DAR, refused to allow Anderson to sing at Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C. A great public outcry followed. Eleanor Roosevelt and other prominent women resigned from the organization, and a group of citizens arranged a concert held on April the 9th, 1939 at the Lincoln Memorial that drew an audience of 75,000 people. Did you hear what I just said? 75,000 people. That is incredible. Marian Anderson. She was asked to sing at the White House and was the first black to sing at the Metropolitan Opera in New York City, making her debut in 1955 as Ulrica in Verdi's Un ballo in Massaro. She was acclaimed for her work in behalf of black people and for her warmth of personality, as well as for her vocal and interpretive powers. As a singer, her outstanding characteristics were wide range, richness and purity of tone, and mastery of a variety of styles. She wrote an autobiography, My Lord, What a Morning, in 1957, and retired in 1965. She received many honors and awards, including the United States National Arts Medal in 1986. She died on April the 8th, 1993, in Portland, Oregon. Oh, my goodness. Marian Anderson, what a singer she was. All right, we're moving ahead. I got more. Okay, here's the next one. The date. It's Wednesday. We're still in the 1800s. It's March the 1st, 1899. And on this date, Ruby Dandridge was born on this date in 1899. She was an African-American entertainer. Born in Wichita, Kansas, Ruby Jean Butler was the daughter of Nellie Simmons and George Butler. Her father was born in Jamaica in 1860 and came to the United States when she was a child. George Butler was a janitor at the Union National Bank, as well as a minister, a grocer, a school principal, and an entertainer, appearing before both black and white audiences. Not much is known about her mother, Nellie, except that she was born in 1870 and had a mixed marriage of Spanish and Indian. Together, Nellie and George had 4 children, 3 boys and 1 daughter. Ruby went to school in Wichita and from her father learned dancing, singing, acrobatics, horseback riding, and a love of performing. From the time she was a child, she hoped to perform one day just like her father. Well, her dream was put on hold when she married Cyril Dandridge in 1919, a union that was not happy. They lived with his mother, and he did not have steady work to support them. Less than 2 years after they married, their daughter Vivian was born in 1921. The birth did not make their marriage better or settle the tensions in the home, and Ruby left. Still wanting his marriage to work, Cyril persuaded her to come back home. Yes, and even though Ruby was 5 months pregnant, she decided to leave her husband again, this time permanently. And on November the 9th, 1922, Ruby gave birth to her second daughter, Dorothy, in Cleveland's City Hospital. That's right, this is Dorothy Dandridge's mother, Ruby Dandridge. They divorced, after which she had a love relationship with a woman named Geneva Williams, who overworked and punished Ruby's 2 daughters. As an entertainer, Ruby Dandridge is best known for her role on the radio show Amos and Andy, in which she played Sadie Blake and Harriet Crawford. She also had a role in the 1959 movie A Hole in the Head, in which she played Sally. Ruby Dandridge died of a heart attack at the age of 88 in Los Angeles, California, and is buried next to her daughter, Dorothy, at Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery in Glendale, California. All right, you want to call in? I still want to hear who your sheroes are. Did you really know about any of these women yet? You can give me a call. I want to know. Who's your shero? 347-884-9839. That's right, you can pick up the phone and give me a call. 347-884-9839. Now, don't be shy. All right, the next one. The date. We're March the 4th. The year is 1900. Ruth Winifred Howard Beckham was born on this date in 1900. She was an African-American educator, social worker, and a psychologist. From Washington, D.C., after finishing Dunbar High School, Howard attended Simmons College in Boston, receiving her degree in social work in 1921 and her Master's of Science 6 degree 6 years later under a Laura Spelman Rockefeller Fellowship for Parent Education. She studied psychology at the University of Minnesota from 1930 to 1934. There she collaborated on research in child development and earned her Ph.D. in psychology and child development, the first black woman to do so at the school. Her doctoral research, a study of the development of triplets, was the first in print study of a sizable group of triplets of varying sizes from numerous ethnic groups. Howard married psychologist Albert S. Beckham, moved to Chicago, performed clinical internships at the Illinois Institute for Juvenile Research, and entered into private clinical psychology practice. From 1940 to 1964, Howard served the African American community in a number of capacities. She and her husband were co-directors for the Center for Psychological Services. She was a psychologist for Chicago's Providence Hospital School of Nursing while consulting schools in Kansas City and Jacksonville. Howard continued in private practice as a consultant and worked with children's programs at Abraham Lincoln Center. As a writer for her field, her publications include Fantasy and the Play Interview, Intellectual and Personality Traits of a Group of Triplets, and Developmental History of a Group of Triplets. Howard's life contained professional affiliations with the Chicago Psychology Club, the American Psychological Association, and the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and the International Reading Association. She civically was a board member of the YWCA of Chicago, the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, and the American Association of College Women, the National Association of Art Institute of Chicago, and none other than Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. All right, she was a very important woman. We're talking about Ruth Winifred Howard Beckham. All right, it's time for us to take another break. I hope you're learning something this evening on the BCS Experience, coming to you live from the studios of the GoPro Radio Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
The views and opinions expressed on GoPro Radio Network shows are solely those of the speakers and are not necessarily the views or opinions of GoPro Radio Networks, Inc. or its affiliates. These broadcasts are provided on the understanding that they do not constitute professional advice or services. Individuals who speak in these broadcasts express their own opinions, experiences, and conclusions. GoPro Radio Networks and its affiliates do not necessarily endorse or oppose any particular opinion or conclusion discussed in these broadcasts. You may not edit, modify, or redistribute these broadcasts in any way without the express permission of GoPro Radio Networks, Inc. GoPro Radio Networks assumes no liability for any of your activities in connection with these broadcasts or for your use of these broadcasts in connection with your website, computer, or playing device.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
All right, we're back on the BCS Experience. We're looking at you live and in living color. I'm Byron C. Saunders, your host with the most. And you know how we became the fastest growing network in the galaxy? By your support. You see, we're listener sponsored. That means you get a chance to show us some love while we show you the love. Show us the love. Show me the love. Show me the money. Go to GoProRadio.com and click on donation. That's how you do your part of becoming a stakeholder at the listener-sponsored radio. I appreciate all the support and all that you've been giving me over the last 3 years. And you know what? The BCS Experience is GoPro Radio's #1 show on the GoPro Radio Network. How did that happen? Because of your support for my efforts. So when you click on donations at GoProRadio.com, indicate in your final tabulation that you want your donation to go to the BCS Experience. So I thank you, and on behalf of the GoPro Radio Network, thank you for showing us all the love. All right, we're back live on the BCS Experience. We're talking about and saluting Women's History Month. All the stories tonight coming out of the African American Registry. If you want to know, go to their site, AfricanAmericanRegistry.com. I post these stories and Black history every single day on the BCS Experience group page and Byron C. Saunders group page. Anyway, here's some more. I bet you didn't know about these women. The date, it's Saturday. It's March the 8th. It's 1902. This date recalls the birth of Louise Beavers in 1902. Known for her character roles, she was an African-American film and television actress. Born in Cincinnati, Ohio, Beavers first drew attention as part of an act known as the Lady Minstrels. Despite her theatrical abilities and inclinations, she went to Hollywood not as a performer, but as the maid of actress Leatrice Joy. She soon, however, appeared on the silver screen, making her feature debut in Gold Diggers 1923. She continued to act in such other silent films as Uncle Tom's Cabin 1927. With the coming of sound films, Beavers' career took off, and between 1929 and 1960, she appeared in more than 100 films, almost all often cast as the maid of the female star or of the starring couple. she had an opportunity to play a role equal to Claudette Colbert's in the first film version of Imitation of Life, 1934, in which both women juggled the demands of single parenthood and careers. Like Hattie McDaniel and most other black actors of the period, Beavers was limited to character roles, most often playing a wise, cheerful, and devoted housemaid who often helps her employees or her employers out of tight spots. Her career culminated in 2 television roles as a housekeeper in the early situation comedies Beulah, 1952 and 53, and The Danny Thomas Show, 1953 to 54. She was inducted posthumously into the Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame in 1976. Louise Beavers died on October the 26th, 1962 in Hollywood, California. She was a path maker. Many came after her. That's right. We salute you, Louise Beavers. All right, we keep moving forward. The date is Wednesday. It's March the 4th, the year 1903. Carrie Best was born on this date in 1903. She was a black Canadian writer, publisher, and activist. From New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, she graduated from high school in the 1920s, after which she married her husband, Albert Best. Together, they had 3 children, a son, Calbert, and 2 girls, Sharon and Burma. Best was extremely involved in the community, raising awareness about human rights issues. Carrie became a publisher in Nova Scotia when she and her son created the Clarion, the first black newspaper in Nova Scotia. She researched all her own articles, many of which were about discrimination in public places such as restaurants, hotels, and theaters. She also incorporated environment and labor issues into her articles. The paper stopped running in 1956, but this did not stop Best from writing. She continued to submit articles to the Nova Scotia Gleaner and the Halifax Herald and the Pictou Advocate, where she had a regular column. She also had a successful radio show called The Quiet Corner that ran for 12 years on 5 radio stations across the province. She produced and narrated the show in which she read from novels and poems. Eventually, she wrote her autobiography, That Lonesome Road, which was published by her own publishing company. Best became the promoter of the K. Livingston Visible Minority Women's Society of Nova Scotia, shortly after the untimely death of its original founder, K. Livingston. She was also the provincial coordinator for this organization. She then decided to revive the Clarion, and it was published in 1922. Best's list of accomplishments and contributions to the betterment of society are endless. Her determination began when she was a child and was encouraged by great role models like her mother. She became a role model herself, a voice for those who could not speak for themselves, and in September 2001, at the age of 97, Carrie Best died in her hometown of New Glasgow. You see, a pioneer of black radio, a woman pioneer of black radio. I know you didn't know about her, and that's not even on our own work of disappearing voices of black radio. So this is a woman who proceeded most in that field, and we salute you, Carrie Best. They even have a stamp made out for her in Canada. So she was a very important woman. Anyway, we keep moving forward. The date. I'm telling you, I got history, I got women's history for all of you. If you didn't know these women, you need to come and find out about these women, because they are sheroes. They laid their lives down for all of us. Anyway, we go to Saturday, February the 27th, 1904. Elizabeth Welch was born on this date in 1904. She was an African-American chanteuse, a singer, and a dancer from New York City. Her mother was from Scotland, and her father was African. and Native American descent. Welch's career began as a child, singing in school productions and in the choir at St. Cyprian's Episcopal Church. It was in 1923 that her choir was invited to sing in the Broadway production of Runnin' Wild. Here she introduced the Charleston. That's right, this is the woman who introduced the Charleston and has danced to the tune of the same name. In 1928, she joined Lou Leslie's historic Blackbirds of 1928, where her co-stars were Bill Bojangles Robinson, Ida Ward, and Adelaide Hall. When the show transferred to Paris, all the black artists became the toast of cafe society, beginning a new career for her in nightclubs and cabaret. By 1933, she had moved and settled in London, where she remained for more than 50 years. Throughout the 30s, she established herself as one of the biggest stars of London nightlife. Cole Porter wrote a part for her in Nymph Errant, 1933, which also starred Gertrude Lawrence. Welch's number Solomon literally stopped the show and went on to become her signature tune. Later, reviews and musicals included Glamorous Night, 1935, It's in the Bag, 1937, Arc de Triomphe, 1943, Twopence Colored, 1947, Penny Plain, 1951, and The Crooked Mile, 1959. Other songs which she was associated as Time Goes By, Love for Sale, and La Vie en Rose. See, Edith Platt didn't start this song, folks. You see, they stole some of this. This is the woman who started it. As Time Goes By, Cole Porter, Love for Sale, and La Vie en Rose have since become standards, but during the Second World War, she entertained the troops in Gibraltar and the Middle East with such stars as Edith Evans and John Gielgud. She also appeared at the London Palladium in Happy and Glorious from 1944 to 1946. Later stage appearances included playing the fairy godmother in Cinderella, 1962, Revived, 1963, and 1976. And in 1970, she starred in her own one-woman show, A Marvelous Party, Hempstead Theatre Club. By the 70s, Welch had achieved something of a cult status with theatergoers. A new and younger generation discovered her when she made a guest appearance lying on a sofa in the musical Pippin in 1973, and once again she stopped the show. 6 years later, she gave one of the most remarkable performances of her career when she sang Stormy Weather in the offbeat film of The Tempest. In 1985, while returning home, she was beat up by a mugger, but was back on stage the following day. Later that same year, a new one-woman show in New York, Elizabeth Welch, A Time to Start Living, won her an Obie Award. Welch was one of the great survivors of show business. She virtually never stopped working. She made countless film, radio, and television appearances, as well as recording numerous albums, many of them classics throughout the 80s and 90s. She made triumphant appearances in Australia, Russia, and at New York's Carnegie Hall. One of her last public appearances was in 1992 when stars gathered at London's Lyric Theatre to pay tribute to her, and she was given 5 standing ovations. Her career spanned 8 decades. Ladies and gentlemen, most careers can't even span 20 years. This lady's 80 years in the business. She also starred in many British films in the 1930s, appearing alongside Paul Robeson and Rex Harrison. The African-American actress and singer was one of the most redoubtable entertainers of the 20th century. Celebrated for her sultry singing voice, she was a great interpreter of popular song, and her long career took her from New York's Jazz Age Theater to Paris Cabaret and numerous West End musicals and revues. Elizabeth Welch died in Denville Hall, Middlesex, on July 15th, aged 99. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. What a story. What a story. All right, we're getting ready to take another break because when we come back, I'm going to finish up with some stuff you haven't even, this will blow your mind, okay? I hope you've been enjoying this because these are stories about women you need to know. We salute Women's History Month in a very special way here on the BCS Experience. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have a product or service, a talent or something important to say, now's your chance to have your own radio show. Whether you're just starting out or a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We'll help you to grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 212-696-8562 today or visit www.goproradio.com and you'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your own radio show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio. Listen to the voices in your head.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
All right, we're back on the BCS Experience. I'm Byron C. Saunders here, bringing it to you live and in living color. You can stream and watch me do this, as well as see the pictures of these great women. This is so important that we understand these women paved the way for much that's going on right now in our country and around the world. So we're going to finish out with a few more that I think will surprise you. And I salute them, and I salute you, all the women who are listening into this show. And all the men, do yourself a big favor. Salute the women in your life. It'll be one of the best things you can do right today. Honor thy mother and thy sister. All right, here we go. Coming home, bringing it home, Saturday, the date, the year, it's March the 7th, it's 1908. Osceola McCarty was born on this date in 1908. She was an African-American domestic and philanthropist from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. At the age of 11, she had to drop out of the 6th grade to help her mom take care of her ailing aunt. McCarty was never able to return to school and took a job as a washer for families that would hire her. She washed and ironed clothes for over 5 decades and officially retired when she was 75 years old. Arthritis in her hands forced her to give up work in 1994. And over years of living her life, McCarty regretted that she never got her full education and that she never became a nurse. But one goal that she had achieved was financial comfort. You see, McCarty had been able to save $100,000 by carefully managing her income. After some deliberation, McCarty decided that she wanted to use the money for a higher purpose, so she donated it. McCarty contributed all of her savings to students at the University of Southern Mississippi so that they could receive something she never did, an education. McCarty received several honors for her generous gift kindness. She was invited to the White House by the president. She was asked to carry the Olympic torch for the 1996 Olympics. A collection of McCarty's views on life, work, faith, saving, and relationships can be found in her book, Simple Wisdom for Rich Living, published by Longstreet Press in 1996. Also, in 1997, she got to live out her dream when she received an honorary doctorate from the University of Southern Mississippi and Harvard University. She also holds a Community Heroes Award from the National Urban League, the Premier Black Woman of Courage Award from the National Federation of Black Women Business Owners, and the Achiever Award from the Aetna Foundation. Osceola McCarty, the humble washerwoman who became the University of Southern Mississippi's most famous benefactor, died on September the 26th, 1999 from cancer. We salute you, Osceola. Oh my God. You gave. You gave. I salute you. Ashe, my sister. All right, one more. The date. It's Tuesday. It's March the 12th, and the year is 1912. And on this date, the registry, African American Registry, marks the history of African Americans in the Girl Scouts of America. You see, it was on this date that Juliet Daisy Gordon Lowe assembled 18 white girls from Savannah, Georgia, for a local Girl Scout meeting. Well, racially segregated in the beginning, the first troop for African American girls was formed in 1917, and by 1950s, Girl Scouts USA began a national effort to desegregate all Girl Scout troops. In 1956, Martin Luther King Jr. described the Girl Scouts as a force for desegregation, in keeping with their goal of creating the leaders of tomorrow. Now over 100 years old, Girl Scouts USA has a record of noble leadership of African American women within the Girl Scout movement. From 1975 to 1978, the first African American Girl Scout USA president, Dr. Gloria D. Scott, was the face of this organization. In more recent times, Girl Scouts USA has partnered with historically black colleges and universities, companies, and organizations including Wilberforce University, Clark University, Essence Magazine, the National Urban League, and the United Negro College Fund, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, and 100 Black Men of America Incorporated, to make Girl Scouts a part of the African American community. These partnerships have made their movement richer with the addition of a multitude of new volunteers and scores of new Girl Scouts. Currently, close to 300,000 African American girls embrace the values and promise of Girl Scouting, enhancing the beauty and strength of our organization along the way. And I want to give a real special shout out to, you see that logo that you're seeing right now on the network? That new logo, which looks like there's three women. One of them is a woman of color. Well, that logo was co-designed by my sister, Leslie Meacham Saunders. That's right, another important woman. I would be remiss if I didn't stand and say and salute my mother, Helen Meacham Saunders, and her mother, Beulah Meacham, because these were women who paved the way. My mother was a PhD in Russian area studies, worked for the National Security Agency, spoke 7 different languages, a great woman, and gave birth to me, her only son, but my sister Toni Cook, who we spoke about. Toni Cook, you heard about, she was the one who wrote the legislation on Ebonics. That's right. Leslie, my sister, my next sister, was one of, in 2005, I believe it was, well, 2003, well, actually in 2003, was one of 2,000 women nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. This is the same woman who also co-designed the new Girl Scout logo, also co-created and founded Kitchen Kids. And then my younger sister, Sydney Darden Saunders, God rest her soul, is no longer with us. She was a great individual herself. She helped to co-found the girl group Left Eye. What's that group, Left Eye, that she was part of? The 3 girls. I can't think of it. Left Eye Lopez. Anyway, Lopez. She helped to found that group. And then my youngest sister, Marisa Karen Tolan, another great woman, still with us, and just a fabulous person unto herself. Strong black sisters. I have 4 sisters in my family. I salute them all. I salute my mother, Helen Meacham Saunders, and my grandmother on my mother's side, Beulah Meacham, and my grandmother on my father's side, Mary Elizabeth Saunders. Wow. Great women we have this month. We salute you all. I appreciate you all for what you've done for us for what you've given in your life. Do yourself a favor today, fellas. Stand tall. Salute your woman. Salute your mother. Salute your sisters, both in your family and in blood. This is Women's History Month. Thank you so very much, my crew. I appreciate the women of my crew. We salute you. Fellas, that's right, you salute them as well. All right, hey, I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to hear anybody else's sheroes, but you heard about mine. Thank you so very much. This has been the BCS Experience. And oh, by the way, that was Alice Coltrane, Journey into Satchitananda, that you were listening to, the wife of the great John Coltrane. Anyway, the BCS Experience is GoProRadio.com, your social network's live talk radio show, produced and sponsored by BW Moving Images, Tylon U. Xavier Washington, producer, Ayanna L. Jones, executive director, Shauna L. Glover, online engineer, and what a great set of production assistants, Muhammad El Safti, Nina Marcal, Tatiana Washington, and the newest person back there, Glenn Z. He's back. That's right. He's back in the booth. Anyway, a special thank you to Jazz Lounge Project and Andrew Julian Myers for my fabulous show's theme music. Your support of BW Moving Images is important to us, and there is a wonderful documentary you need to put into your collection. It's called Disappearing Voices. Anyway, to get it, go to disappearingvoices.com. Tell them you heard about it on the BCS Experience, and we'll get it autographed for you. In the meantime, tune in next Wednesday when my show, hey, the BCS Experience, will be on live from 5 to 6 p.m. Coming up next is Black Agenda TV Express from 6 to 6:30, featuring Glenn Ford, Ayanna Jones, Bruce Dixon, followed by the Earl Morgan Hour from 7 to 8. And then check out Kay Thompson Live with your hostess, Kay Thompson, from 8 to 9. But don't go away. Stay tuned from 9 to 10. Hot off the stove, the show, Food Rap with Shauna L. Glover and Nina Marcal. But don't you dare turn away, because from 10 until 11, before you kiss her goodnight, catch the Sexy Party Show hosted by Mr. Lucario and Pavion O'Connor right here on the GoPro Radio Network. Hey, I'm Byron C. Saunders, and it's been all about the BCS Experience. Join me next Wednesday when my special guest will be you, my listening audience, with another opportunity to appreciate our rich cultural history and learn how it impacts on our lives today. Until then, I'm out of here. For the moment, peace and love always.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.